Ever wondered why the world's most advanced fighter jet took more than 2 decades to build? It wasn't because engineers lacked the technology. It was because the F-35 Lightning II was never designed to replace just one aircraft. It had to replace many. One version for the Air Force, another for the Navy, and a third for the Marine Corps. At the same time, it needed to be stealthier, smarter, easier to maintain, and capable of performing missions that once required several different aircraft. It sounded nearly impossible, yet today, the F-35 serves with more than 20 countries and has become the world's most widely deployed fifth-generation fighter. So how did this revolutionary aircraft come to life? In this video, we'll explore the complete story of the Lockheed Martin F-35, from the military requirements that sparked the program to the fierce competition with Boeing, the engineering breakthroughs, and the challenges that nearly brought the project to its knees. Let's begin. To understand the F-35, you first have to understand the problem the United States faced after the Cold War. During the 1980s, the U.S. military operated an enormous variety of combat aircraft. The Air Force relied heavily on the F-16 Fighting Falcon for multi-role missions and the A-10 Thunderbolt II for close air support. The Marine Corps flew the AV-8B Harrier II, famous for its ability to take off from short runways, and amphibious assault ships. Meanwhile, the Navy depended on older versions of the FA-18 Hornet to protect carrier strike groups. Each aircraft had been designed for a specific mission, and each required different maintenance procedures, different spare parts, different pilot training, and separate logistics systems. For years, that approach worked. But by the early 1990s, those aircraft were beginning to age. Keeping several independent fighter programs alive was becoming increasingly expensive. Military planners realized something important. Instead of developing a completely different aircraft for every branch of the armed forces, what if one family of fighters could perform most of those missions? It was an incredibly ambitious idea, but if it worked, it could save billions of dollars over the aircraft's lifetime while simplifying maintenance, training, and global support. That vision eventually became known as the Joint Strike Fighter program. However, the idea didn't appear overnight. Its roots stretched back even further. In the early 1990s, the U.S. Department of Defense began studying 2 separate concepts. One was called the Common Affordable Lightweight Fighter, or CALF. The other was the Joint Advanced Strike Technology Program, better known as JAST. Both explored ways to create a new generation of affordable stealth aircraft using common technology across multiple military services. Eventually, the Pentagon merged these efforts into a single program, the Joint Strike Fighter. The goal sounded straightforward: design one aircraft, then adapt it into 3 different variants. An Air Force version capable of operating from conventional runways, a Marine Corps version capable of short takeoffs and vertical landings, and a Navy version strong enough to survive the demanding environment of aircraft carriers. Simple in theory, extraordinarily difficult in practice. Building one fighter that satisfied 3 military branches meant balancing very different priorities. The Air Force wanted speed, stealth, and multi-role flexibility. The Marine Corps insisted on short takeoff and vertical landing capability, often called STOVL, so the aircraft could operate from small ships and forward operating bases. The Navy demanded stronger landing gear, larger wings, and reinforced structures capable of handling violent carrier launches and recoveries. Trying to satisfy all 3 requirements in one design became one of the greatest engineering challenges in aviation history. Before a production aircraft could be selected, the Pentagon needed proof that it was actually possible. So 2 aerospace giants entered one of the most important competitions of the modern era: Lockheed Martin and Boeing. Both companies received contracts to build experimental demonstrator aircraft. Boeing developed the X-32. Lockheed Martin built the X-35. Although both aircraft were designed to meet the same military requirements, they looked dramatically different. The Boeing X-32 featured a large chin-mounted air intake and a broad delta-shaped wing. Its unusual appearance quickly attracted attention, and aviation enthusiasts often joked about its unconventional design. But appearances alone never determine military competitions. Performance does. Lockheed Martin approached the challenge differently. The X-35 looked much closer to what people now recognize as today's F-35. Its sleek fuselage, blended wing body design, and carefully shaped surfaces reflected years of research into stealth technology. But the real innovation wasn't visible from the outside. It was hidden inside the aircraft, especially in the version developed for the Marine Corps. Creating a fighter capable of vertical landing while remaining supersonic had challenged engineers for decades. The Harrier had already proven that vertical flight was possible, but it relied on a vectored thrust engine that imposed limitations on speed, payload, and internal fuel. Lockheed Martin believed there was a better solution. Working alongside Rolls-Royce, engineers developed one of the most sophisticated propulsion systems ever installed in a fighter aircraft, instead of relying solely on rotating engine nozzles. The aircraft used a vertically mounted lift fan positioned behind the cockpit. During conventional flight, the fan remained disconnected, but when preparing for short takeoff or vertical landing, a clutch engaged, transferring power from the main engine to the lift fan. The system generated vertical thrust at the front of the aircraft, while a swiveling rear exhaust nozzle provided lift at the back. Small roll control nozzles located in the wings helped maintain stability. Together, the entire system allowed the aircraft to hover while remaining optimized for high-speed flight. It was an engineering solution, unlike anything previously fielded in an operational supersonic fighter. Still, ingenious ideas mean little without successful testing. Both companies now had to prove their designs in the real world, and what happened next would determine the future of military aviation. Testing began in 2000, and both companies knew they weren't simply competing to build another fighter jet. The winner would likely secure one of the largest military aircraft contracts in history. The Pentagon established a series of demanding demonstration requirements. The aircraft had to prove it could perform conventional takeoffs and landings, reach supersonic speed, and for the Marine Corps variant, complete a short takeoff followed by a vertical landing. It wasn't enough to accomplish those tasks separately. The aircraft had to demonstrate it could do them using the same basic airframe. Boeing's X-32 successfully completed many of its flight tests and demonstrated that its concept worked. But Lockheed Martin's X-35 achieved something especially important. During testing, the X-35B completed a short takeoff, accelerated to supersonic speed, and then returned to perform a vertical landing, all within the same flight. That demonstration became one of the defining moments of the competition. It showed that the aircraft could transition between entirely different flight profiles without compromising its core design. The Pentagon was impressed. On October 26, 2001, the U.S. Department of Defense officially announced the winner. Lockheed Martin had won the Joint Strike Fighter competition. The X-35 would evolve into the F-35 Lightning II. Interestingly, the name Lightning II wasn't chosen by accident. It honored two legendary aircraft: the World War II Lockheed P-38 Lightning and the English Electric Lightning, Britain's famous Cold War interceptor. It symbolized speed, innovation, and a new generation of air power. But winning the competition was only the beginning. The real challenge was transforming a successful prototype into an operational fighter capable of serving multiple branches of the military for decades. The production aircraft would be divided into three distinct variants. The F-35A became the conventional takeoff and landing version designed primarily for the U.S. Air Force and many international customers. It features an internal GAU 22A 25mm cannon, making it the only variant with a permanently installed gun. The F-35B became the short takeoff and vertical landing version for the U.S. Marine Corps, the United Kingdom, Italy, Japan, and other operators requiring operations from smaller carriers or amphibious assault ships. Its lift fan system allows it to operate where conventional fighters simply cannot. The F-35C became the carrier-based version developed for the U.S. Navy. Compared with the other variants, it has larger wings, folding wingtips, stronger landing gear, and structural reinforcements to withstand catapult launches and arrested landings aboard aircraft carriers. Although the three aircraft look remarkably similar, they share only about 20 to 30% of their structural components, even though they use many common systems: avionics, mission software, and logistics concepts. Each version had to be optimized for its own mission without sacrificing the commonality that made the Joint Strike Fighter program possible. At the heart of every F-35 sits one of the most powerful fighter engines ever placed into a single-engine combat aircraft, the Pratt & Whitney F135. Producing around 43,000 pounds of thrust with afterburner, it remains the most powerful production fighter engine in service. That power allows the F-35 to reach speeds of approximately Mach 1.6 while carrying weapons internally to preserve its stealth characteristics. Stealth itself became one of the aircraft's defining advantages. Unlike earlier stealth aircraft that focused primarily on reducing radar reflections from the front, the F-35's design minimizes its radar signature from multiple aspects. Carefully aligned edges, internal weapon bays, radar-absorbing materials, and specially designed engine inlets all contribute to making the aircraft significantly harder to detect than conventional fighters. But the F-35 was designed to do far more than avoid radar. It was built to dominate the information battle. Its AN/APJ-81 active electronically scanned array radar works alongside the electro-optical targeting system, distributed aperture system, electronic warfare suite, and numerous other sensors. Instead of forcing pilots to interpret information from separate displays, the aircraft combines data into a single tactical picture. This process, known as sensor fusion, gives pilots an unprecedented understanding of the battle space. Many F-35 pilots have described the aircraft as less of a traditional fighter and more of a flying intelligence and command platform. However, as revolutionary as the aircraft appeared, developing it proved far more difficult than anyone had anticipated. The F-35 program quickly became one of the most closely scrutinized defense projects in modern history. One major reason was concurrency. Rather than waiting until flight testing was complete before beginning production, the Pentagon chose to manufacture aircraft while testing continued. The strategy was intended to deliver new fighters to operational units more quickly, but it also meant that early production aircraft sometimes required expensive modifications as testing uncovered new issues. Software development became another enormous challenge. Unlike previous fighters, the F-35 relied on millions of lines of software code controlling everything from mission systems to sensor fusion. Writing, testing, and validating that software took far longer than expected. The advanced helmet-mounted display also faced years of refinement. Instead of a traditional head-up display, critical flight and targeting information is projected directly onto the pilot's visor. Combined with the aircraft's distributed aperture system, pilots can effectively look through the floor of the aircraft using infrared cameras mounted around the fuselage. Although revolutionary, achieving that capability required years of additional engineering and testing. These challenges contributed to schedule delays and rising costs, making the F-35 one of the most debated military programs in the world. Critics questioned whether the aircraft would ever fulfill its enormous promises. Supporters argued that no previous fighter had attempted to combine so many advanced technologies into one platform. Gradually, the aircraft matured. By the mid-2000s, operational squadrons began deploying overseas. In 2015, the U.S. Marine Corps declared the F-35B ready for initial operational capability. The U.S. Air Force followed with the F-35A in 2016. The U.S. Navy declared the F-35C operational in 2019. The aircraft soon entered real combat operations. Israel became the first country to publicly acknowledge using the F-35 in combat, followed by operational deployments from the United States and other partner nations. As more aircraft entered service, confidence in the platform steadily increased. Today, the F-35 serves with air forces across North America, Europe, the Middle East, and the Asia-Pacific region. By July 2026, more than 1,200 F-35s had been delivered worldwide, with the global fleet accumulating well over 1 million flight hours. The aircraft is now operated or has been ordered by more than 20 countries, making it the largest fifth-generation fighter program in history. Development also continues. The latest Technology Refresh 3, or TR3 hardware provides greater computing power needed for the upcoming Block 4 modernization program. Block 4 will expand the F-35's capabilities with additional weapons integration, improved electronic warfare systems, enhanced sensor performance, expanded networking capabilities, and more advanced software. In many ways, the F-35 is still evolving, and that's exactly how it was designed. Unlike older fighters that changed very little after entering service, the Lightning II was built to receive continuous upgrades throughout its operational life. So, what have we learned? The F-35 Lightning II wasn't born because engineers wanted to build another fast fighter. It was born because the modern battlefield demanded something entirely different. One aircraft capable of replacing multiple aging fleets. One aircraft that could share information as effectively as it could launch weapons. One aircraft that could operate from conventional runways, aircraft carriers, and amphibious assault ships, while remaining difficult to detect. The journey wasn't easy. The program faced technical setbacks, schedule delays, software challenges, and intense public scrutiny. But it also introduced technologies that have fundamentally changed modern air combat. Today, the F-35 stands as the world's most widely operated fifth-generation fighter, influencing how Allied air forces train, fight, and cooperate across the globe. And with continuous Block 4 upgrades already underway, its story is far from over. So now, we'd like to hear from you. Do you think the F-35 Lightning II has lived up to its enormous expectations, or do you believe another modern fighter deserves that title? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. And if you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep dive into the world's most incredible aircraft and military technology. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.